You swipe your key card at the glass door of your office building on a Saturday morning. The light turns green, the lock clicks, and you cannot help but laugh a little. You laugh because even the building, this soulless box of glass and concrete, assumes by default that you are coming in on your day off. It expects you. But have you ever stopped to realize that behind this exhausting routine, behind that little green light on the terminal, hides the most important question of your adult life? Forget, just for a moment, what looks impressive on the internet. Forget the flashy milestones that make you sound rich to people you don't even know. The only thing you actually want from your career, from your money, and from this quiet Saturday morning is for this exact moment to be entirely optional. If you are chasing a number on a screen just because it looks good, you might be missing out on the only thing that truly matters. The right to say no without undermining your entire month, your entire year, or your entire life. From the moment we enter the adult world, financial gurus drill the same basic rule into our heads. They tell us that if we just save enough money to cover our expenses for 3 to 6 months, we are safe. It sounds incredibly reasonable, doesn't it? But let us be brutally honest about what that actually is. That is only a purchase of temporary security. It is not freedom. Real freedom is not a round sum in a bank account that slowly depletes while you frantically search for another job in a state of sheer panic. Real freedom is what happens when your no finally means something. When your boss demands that you sacrifice your health, your family time, or your morals for a project, and the only response you can muster is that you would quit. But in 3 months, you will not be able to make rent. You are not free. You are simply a hostage with a slight delay on your sentence. Most people spend their lives trying to provide this basic, fleeting security, genuinely thinking it is enough. But freedom built on fake security is just panic dressed in more decent clothes. We all crave one clean, round answer. We want a perfect mountain of cash that settles the argument for good. 1 million, 5 million, $10 million. We cling to these fantastic arbitrary totals, but that fantasy number is usually just a status signal wearing a nicer outfit. Chasing that one giant net worth figure is a trap because it completely masks your actual vulnerability. Think about it this way. If your salary looks huge, if you drive a luxury car and live in a prestigious neighborhood, but a massive chunk of your money only exists to keep you running on that exact same payroll treadmill, you are aiming at the wrong target. You do not need one giant monolithic net worth figure. You need 3 distinct settings for your financial life. First, you need bare minimum freedom. This is your absolute foundation. It covers the bare essentials: groceries, a roof over your head, and basic utilities. It is the number that gives you the right to slam the door on a toxic environment and not starve while you figure out your next move. Second, you need durable freedom. This is the level that allows you to survive the ugly seasons of life: economic recessions, market crashes, periods of high inflation. This is when your freedom has actual structural integrity. Finally, there is carefree freedom, the breathing room that allows for luxury, spontaneous travel, and massive creative risks without ever checking a price tag. If you treat your financial future as one lump sum, you aren't planning. You are just gambling that life will stay perfectly smooth. And that is exactly how plans die the moment an ugly month arrives. Let us talk about the metrics we use to measure our success. Most people use their income to answer a spending question, which is entirely the wrong measuring stick. You need to look at the exit side of your ledger, at your expenses, because that is where the truth actually lives. Consider the hidden bill that your job sends you every single day. The cost of commuting, gas, wear and tear on your car, or expensive train tickets. The overpriced lunches in the business district because you were too exhausted to meal prep the night before. Childcare, dry cleaning, professional wardrobes. And then, perhaps the most expensive item of all, the stress spending, those impulsive Friday night purchases, the expensive dinners, the weekend escapes that you book simply because your job is shredding your time and your nervous system, and your brain is screaming that you deserve a little joy to compensate for the misery. Your paycheck isn't just feeding your life, it is actively feeding the machine that makes you need the paycheck in the first place. Working costs a tremendous amount of money. The beautiful paradox is that when you finally stop, when you step off the corporate treadmill, a massive portion of those costs simply vanish. If you do not account for this shift in your baseline expenses, you are chasing the wrong target, artificially inflating how much you think you need to survive. But we must also face the dark side of financial planning, the math of the ugly month. Life does not behave like a neat, predictable monthly subscription. When you calculate your freedom number, you cannot simply take a pretty month, multiply it by 12, and call it a day. You have to account for the inevitable chaos, the insurance premiums that skyrocket without warning, the annual home repairs, the car transmission that inevitably blows out at the worst possible moment, and, of course, the sudden medical bills that always seem to hit when you aren't looking. In the United States, for instance, employer-sponsored health coverage acts as a massive, often invisible buffer. Leaving the workforce means you have to replace that safety net entirely on your own, which pushes your target number significantly higher. Then, there is the incredibly complex puzzle of taxes, which can destroy even the most beautifully crafted spreadsheet. A dollar pulled from a standard taxable brokerage account hits your pocket entirely differently than a dollar pulled from a Roth IRA or a traditional retirement account. Your specific mix of accounts determines exactly how much gross income you actually need to extract from your portfolio to sustain your life. If you don't understand the difference between long-term capital gains and ordinary income tax rates, your safe withdrawal rate might just be an illusion. Finally, you cannot afford to ignore the floor provided by Social Security or state pensions. No, it isn't luxury income. Nobody is buying a yacht with a government check, but it is a reliable buffer. It is a baseline that can drastically reduce the amount your personal portfolio needs to carry on its own during your later years. Ignoring this in your calculations means you might be forcing yourself to work 5 to 7 years longer than necessary, driven purely by uncalculated fear. So, it is time to stop chasing that fake, universal milestone. Stop trying to impress people who do not care about you. The real finish line is not when you make it onto some arbitrary rich list. The real finish line is the exact moment your life can keep running without your next paycheck, and one ugly month no longer has the power to bully you into obedience. It is not about yachts or fancy watches or screenshots of your crypto wallet. It is about having refusal power. It is the power to walk away from bad work, toxic bosses, ungrateful clients, and situations that drain your soul. Wealth on paper can still leave you completely trapped. There are millionaires who cannot sleep at night because they are shackled by golden handcuffs to a lifestyle they don't even enjoy. But freedom is calm. Freedom allows you to pause. It lets you wait, recover your strength, and choose a completely different path on your own terms. If you are done chasing status and you are finally ready to build actual, tangible options for your life, hit the like button. And here is your challenge for the comments. Imagine that you wake up tomorrow and you have fully hit your bare minimum number. You are completely safe from losing your food and your shelter. What is the very first thing at your current job, the very first task, meeting, or obligation that you would finally look at and say,